Hello, friends. Happy Saturday. This is take 2 for day either 10 or 11 of a 14-day Facebook Live challenge. I am tuning in, or I'm coming to you from my old bedroom in my parents' home in San Mateo, California. So when you hop on, if you're watching live or by replay, tell me where you are watching this from. Okay, so tried this earlier. Let's see if this actually works. Okay, Jody's on. Hi, Jody. Yay. We are actually live and in business. Okay, cool. So anyway, you guys, before we get started, first of all, tell me where you're tuning in from. If you're watching by replay, hashtag replay in the comments. I always love to circle back and thank you all for your time and hanging out with me for these lives. If you don't know who I am, I'm Ashley Samadani, and in a nutshell, I'm a mom. I'm a wife to a 3-year-old toddler named Taylor, and I sometimes say I'm a full-time stay-at-home mompreneur, but it hasn't always been that way, and that's part of what I'm going to talk to you about today. I'm really excited for this topic. Kind of threw it together last minute, but I've got some notes here, and I want to give you 3 tips for how to balance a full-time job with a growing side hustle or side gig. I know you probably heard those terms before, and I myself did this. I had at one point 3 years ago had a full-time super demanding job and built a side gig, and now my side gig has become my full-time gig, but I'm also a full-time stay-at-home mom. So I've got some tips for you on how to balance. How do you build a side gig, or how do you manage that while you have a full-time job? So I hope you find this useful. So let me ask you the question. If you're watching live or by replay, do you have a side hustle? So do you have a side hustle currently? You work full-time, or at least you work part-time, and then you also are building a side hustle. I would love to know that. If you do, hashtag side hustle in the comments. And I see Charlene's on. Jody's tuning in from her bed in Virginia. Awesome. Charlene, thanks for your time. Okay, so let's see. If you've thought about starting a side hustle, so you have a full-time job, you're a friend of mine, I've popped up in your feed and you're like, all right, I've thought about a side hustle. And there's so many different ways that you can build a side hustle. There's not just one. I've done several. So if you have thought about it before, put a question mark in the comments. A question mark in the comment if you thought about it. So my definition, I kind of wrote down, definition of side hustle is when you're working another job besides your main job without the intent of replacing your income or leaving your job. So it is purely a side hustle, and there's nothing wrong with it. I think sometimes you see people that are like, I left my full-time job, I replaced my full-time income, and like that's the bee's knees. Well, it's not for everyone, right? That wouldn't be wise for some people, nor would it be their choice. So if you are going to have a full-time job and build a side hustle that can be a turnkey for other things, maybe you're trying to pad your savings, have extra money for investments, use that extra side hustle money for something to, better and improve your financial future, smart move. But if you're doing a full-time job also, you have a lot, that's a lot. That's a lot, trust me, I know, and I'll give you some of my story. So you gotta there's a few things that I would give as tips for how to kind of maintain sanity and balance. Hi, Stacy. Hi, Kara. Thanks for hopping on. So anyway, totally fine if your side hustle is always gonna be kind of like your side piece. It's not gonna be your bae. It's not gonna be your before anything else, I don't know. But that's totally fine. So for me, I'll tell you a little bit of background about me. I started a blog, Taylor Made Mama. I started that 3 years ago, started it while I was on maternity leave because apparently there wasn't enough to do on maternity leave, so I started a blog. Go figure. But that was literally almost 3 years ago to the day. I think the first post I published was the 25th of June, so that's crazy. Time's really flown by fast. But when I went back to work, I was working a very demanding job. I mean, I don't know, I probably worked between the time I was at work and the time I brought work home, 60, 70 hours a week, had a newborn who was nursing, so I was pumping and nursing, like all the things. But I was able to manage to publish at least one blog post per week during, it was probably for a solid year and a half. I posted every day on Instagram, built relationships over there. So it is possible. It is a lot of work, and there's a few tips that I kind of took away from that time period that I would love to share with you now. And I still use these tips, a lot of them, to this day, because if you're a stay-at-home mom, first of all, stay-at-home moms, let me see where you're at in the comments. Hashtag SAHM in the comments if you're a stay-at-home mom. That's not easy. That is not easy. That is another full-time job. And so it's also hard to balance a growing side gig, even though that now my side gig is my full-time income. But even if it wasn't, if I was trying to build it, there's not a lot of time. So there's some key things I think I hope will be helpful to you. Okay, so let's see. Tip number one. This can be done. It can be done. Balance. I don't know if I so much believe in balance, but I think that there's a way that you can kind of find harmony amongst all the things that you want for your life, okay? You're never going to be like, I'm balanced and I'm 100% great at this, I'm 100% great at this. There is some kind of balance there. All right, so Kara, I hope these tips are helpful. I've got a ton of tips on this, but I had to whittle it down to 3, otherwise no one would want to be watching me giving tips for like an hour. So number 1, plan a schedule that works for you. Planning a schedule and sticking to a schedule that works for you. Everyone is going to tell you a totally different way of doing this. I can share what I did. So when I was, and I feel like this is no matter what side hustle I was building, now I'm in network marketing. That is how I make my full-time income. So if I were building a network marketing business, which is honestly very similar to how I built my blog and my following on Instagram in many ways, because it's all about relationships, providing value to people and building relationships, right? That is, if you're a good network marketer, that is what you do. And so that's the same thing that I did with my blog, was providing a ton of value and building relationships with people who I wanted to connect with. So planning a schedule that works for you. So here's what I did. I'm going to give you one really silly tip. I tell my team this all the time. For me, what worked was really blocking time on the weekends. Like if I wanted to publish one blog post per week, so I blocked out a chunk of time on the weekends around my daughter's nap, where I could sit down, write a blog post and get all that together, and I would kind of, chunk that time on the weekends. And then, because I knew I needed that sit down, think time to, edit photos, like that was going to take a while. I couldn't just fit that in the nooks and crannies. So you got to think about what is your side hustle and what's like, what kind of time do you need and what's going to help you be productive. So for me, it was really taking like a 3 to 4 hour time chunk around a nap and then asking for my husband or my mom's assistance so that I could have that time chunk on the weekends to set things up. The other thing that I found useful, and if you're building a business on social media, regardless of what your side hustle is, you might find this helpful too, is just using a post, an app that will post your post for you. You can't do it on Facebook unless it's in a group or a business page, but you can post to Instagram through apps. And so I would do that. I would schedule out my posts. So really time blocking. So time blocking, if I wanted to, schedule out all of my sponsored posts or whatever it was, I would do that for like a 2 hour time chunk on a Sunday evening after Taylor went to bed. And then I would be done for the week. They'd be scheduled out. So really figuring out for your side hustle, what kind of schedule is going to work for you. Is it early mornings? Is it taking time on your lunch break to do some learning that you need to do to build your side hustle, some follow-ups, some emails, sending emails, responding? What is it? When can you plug those things in realistically? Planning out a schedule also, I think a lot of people say, I don't have time. Like, I don't have time. You do. It's really making that time, like giving up your lunch break or giving up Netflix, things like that. So finding a schedule and sticking with it and really, well, I'm going to get to that next one later. Here's the funny little tip that I tell my team a lot. Kara says, can you use the app for Facebook or just Instagram? Yeah, not Facebook, not on personal page. You can't schedule, as far as I know, someone tell me if you found something, but as far as I know, I don't think there's yet a tool that will post for you, or you can schedule your posts for your personal page on Facebook. I know you can for business page. Hi, Nancy. Hi, Kathleen. All right, so you ladies will know the tip. This is like tip 1B, toilet time. Okay, toilet time. There, I said it. But this is a legit tip. This is really, truly how I was able to build up my following and relationships on Instagram, was toilet time, because we only have so much time in the day, but we all got to use the toilet, and we mostly all have smartphones. So I want you to think of something in your side hustle, or if you are thinking about starting a side hustle, little little tasks that are super short that you could do quickly. So me sitting down and writing a blog post with my laptop on the toilet, that's not toilet time. But one thing you could do would be, say, replying to comments on your social media. You can do that in like a minute or two while you're on the toilet. So finding those windows, it doesn't have to be the toilet, but if you are staying hydrated, you have to go pee like, I don't know how many times, 5 or 6. There's, 6 different windows where you can be dedicating to replying to comments. And I know this sounds silly, but I legit did this. I had my phone and, make good use of your time. Make time for your side hustle. Especially if you're going to keep it as a side hustle, you can't, you have to weave things in together, I guess, but in a way that is, you can't like be doing them during your work, but your pee time is your time. All right. That's so silly. I can't believe I told you guys that. Anyways, okay. Tip number 2, and this is huge. And I know you're going to be like, oh my God, that's not really a tip. It is. Prioritize self-care. Okay. If you are trying to work a full-time job and you have a growing side hustle, that's a lot of work. Just know that's a lot of work, and hats off to you for doing it or for even attempting it. But you have to prioritize self-care. If you don't, you're going to burn out and you're going to suffer, your full-time job's going to suffer, and you're probably going to give up on your side hustle because that's going to be the first thing to go. What I did during that, I went back to work for a year. So what I did during that year, to prioritize self-care amongst all the things, all the nursing newborn, nursing infant for that whole year, building a blog, building out my Instagram, working 60, 70 hours a week in a super demanding job that I loved, but it was very time consuming. My self-care was exercise and probably baths maybe sometimes, but I really made it a priority to, make sure I was working out 3 times a week. And so that was how I prioritize self-care. So whatever that looks like for you, just to balance your stress levels, because it's stressful enough just being alive and going through life, right? Let alone having a full-time job and a side hustle that you're trying to build up as well, and whatever else you have going on in your life. Everyone's busy in their own different ways, but keeping your stress levels down is so critical. So prioritizing self-care. So anyways, all right, Stacy says it's not silly. Yes, you have to weave time in. Yes, you do. You have to find those ways that you can blend your side hustle and blend your full-time job in the time that you have that's yours, like a lunch break or peeing. Okay, I don't think anyone can say you can't pee and do whatever you want on the toilet during that toilet time. But anyway, tip number 3. And again, this is kind of an obvious one, but take your side hustle seriously. So even if it is your side hustle, it's not your bae, it's your side hustle, treat it like a business. Regardless of how much or how little time you spend on it, or how much or how little money you would like to make with your side hustle, treat it like a business and schedule things out, make it a priority, because if you don't, it's probably going to fall by the wayside. You'll lose motivation to work on it. So if you don't think of it as this is something that I'm doing on a professional level, even if it's side hustle part-time, we will allow other things to distract us from it, right? If you think of it as just my little, even the way we talk about side hustles, right? Like, oh, I used to say things like, oh, I have this little blog. Like, no. If you have a side hustle, treat it like a legit business, and it won't eventually be a non-thing. Like if you're continuing to work full-time and have a side hustle, you don't want that to just go away. You're spending and investing the time and effort into building that alongside your full-time job, and you want to be able to remember that long-term you're going to reap benefits from that for your future, for your family's financial future, in whatever side hustle that you're doing. Okay, so those are really my 3 tips. Number 1, planning a schedule that works for you and really sticking to that. And that kind of speaks to that, treating it like a business. Schedule out that time just like you would any other appointment, and make sure you're doing that. And using your toilet time wisely. And then prioritize self-care is tip number 2, because it's stressful. It's stressful to do both. Like, I know that was a crazy year, and it's crazy now having a full-time job as a mom, and then also building a business, that's also my full-time gig. So I know it's stressful, but prioritize self-care, take care of yourself, take a bath, light a candle, go to the gym, go for walks, like put yourself up there on your priority list. And then number 3, take your side hustle seriously anyway. Even if it's not going to be your bae, take it seriously and don't just, shove it to the wayside for weeks or months at a time. Put in, whatever effort that you can, because otherwise you might lose the motivation to continue working on it altogether. And then no, like side hustles are awesome, and it can be a creative outlet, but it can also be an outlet for money to be a turnkey to other things. Maybe it's to donate to your favorite charity. Maybe it is to put into your child's college fund. I don't know what your, tell me if you have a side hustle or you've thought about a side hustle, what would you do with that extra money? So if you were making like an extra $1,000 a month from your side hustle, what would you do with it? I would love to know that. What would you do with your extra $1,000 every month from whatever side hustle that you were to build up alongside your full-time income? I would love, love, love to know that. I remember my goal when I started with my blog, I really wanted to make, I was like $300 to $500 a month. And then when I started network marketing, I'm like, all right, 300, 500 extra bucks a month would be awesome. Like I just wanted this, like, I don't know, guilt-free money. Like that's kind of what I wanted. Like not guilt-free because my husband doesn't guilt me or anything, and I didn't feel guilty spending money that I was making, but just like frivolous money, right? 300 to 500, just where I could like get my lash extensions, get my nails done, get a massage, whatever I wanted, and have it be just like this little extra pool. So what would you do with your extra income from a side gig? I think those are pretty much my 3 tips. It does seem daunting, I know, to think about building up a side hustle alongside a full-time job, but it is possible. It's absolutely possible to do, especially if it's a true side hustle and you're not intending to like go to the top, and you're not trying to be crazy like me and replace your full-time income and make 6 figures, multiple 6 figures. If that's not your goal, it's totally doable, but you gotta find a quote unquote balance that works for you, and a way to kind of treat it as a side profession, really. So anyway, I have a list. I was doing some Google. I'm like, all right, what are good side hustles? Like what are the most popular side hustles, the ones that are most lucrative, and the ones that people could feasibly do with full-time jobs. So I compiled a list of 13. So 13, including the number 1 way that I actually monetize my blog, which you could also do without a blog, which is kind of cool. So list of 13. If you would like that list of 13, I have it in my phone notes. Very easy for me to copy and paste it right over to you. But all you need to do is just reach out, send me a message. I cannot speak. I had too much Phil's coffee. I had an ice night mojito, and I think it's getting to my head. But anyway, message me and say, I would love your list of 13, or go ahead and send me over that list of 13 side hustles. And maybe there's one on there that you could either add to your repertoire, or if you are a full-time, have a full-time gig and you're looking for a side hustle, maybe you'll find one that you hadn't thought of. There were a couple that I had never thought of, but they're genius. And I'm like, maybe I'll do that. No, not really. I think I got my plate full. But anyway, you guys, let me know if you want that list. I hope you have a great Saturday, and I will be back on for day whatever it is tomorrow of this challenge, and I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to go beyond the 14 days anyways, so it's all rolling into one. Anyway, have a great night, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.